I'm Mary Gwen Wheeler, Executive Director, and I'm going to turn it over pretty soon here to the Mayor. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're about to do. Mayor's going to set the stage for us. I'm going to then dig into some of the findings in the report, which you have in your hands, and then we will have some question and answer time. And then we're going to have a panel of experts and people who are working hard on a particular issue, the persistence to completion. So we welcome you all to stay for any and all of that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Fischer.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on an issue that has got to be the most important issue for any community, and that's education and how do we move all of our folks forward. You know, we've heard this our whole lives, but it's going to hold true as well. Without an educated, informed citizenry, our potential is limited, and that's why 55,000 degrees is so important to the community. I have the honor of chairing 55,000 degrees, hence I will be giving some introductory remarks for 15 minutes or so. It's been 4 years now since we've launched 55,000 degrees, and the purpose of that was to collectively, as a community, say we know that we need to move into the top tier of American cities as it relates to educational attainment. So this collective impact model, or a model of bringing all different voices in the community together to attack this education challenge, is what 55,000 degrees is all about. The goal that we set, some thought was ambitious, and that is to ensure that 50% of all of our working age adults in Louisville have a college degree by the year 2020. And that's whether it's a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. There's a lot of things that we all know, but I'll just state them. We know that a more educated workforce is more in tune with the demands of a changing world, and the world's changing more rapidly than ever before. A more educated workforce makes us more competitive, it makes us more entrepreneurial, it makes us more likely to attract investment, to grow good jobs and create more opportunities for more people. So it's important that we stop once a year, minimally publicly like this as we do, and we're doing this all the time with the executive committee, but to reflect and say, where have we been, where are we going, what have we learned, how can we improve? And so the big message out of this report is that we're moving in the right direction toward 55,000 degrees, but to reach that goal by 2020, we've got to move faster. Good news, today more working age adults in Louisville hold a college degree than ever before. In fact, we've added 22,000 degrees since we started measuring the 55,000 degree program. Significantly, we've passed the national average for a city in terms of adults with college degrees. The national average is 39%. We're at 41.5%. So when businesses look at growing or moving to a city, that is a key figure that they look at, so we should feel good about that. But while we're making this significant progress, we're going to be weakness-oriented and say, what can we do more? If we don't move faster, our chances of reaching our goal by 2020 are in jeopardy. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we've got to have more adults attaining more degrees faster, even though we're ahead now of the national average. And Mary Gwen Wheeler, our Executive Director of 55K, will be explaining more of the details on that in a moment. So I want to point a few things out in terms of my observations about 55,000 degrees and what that work has taught us here in the community. 55K has highlighted what I call kind of the inextricable link between college and career-ready students and the needs of employers. So while we're focused on 55K, the conversations are leading to a much broader conversation. In the coming weeks, you'll be hearing more about this as we extend our community learning and results focus on a cradle-to-career lifelong learning system. So I wanted to brief everybody on what I mean by this. We look at this now as the city's cradle-to-career lifelong learning continuum. So as we were focusing on 55,000 degrees, it's only natural then that a bunch of questions started coming out, like, are our students college and career ready that are coming in from JCPS and our private high schools to 55K? What are those gaps to make our students more ready to succeed. And then on the other hand, the 21st century workforce, the question was, well, why are we educating students? Are we educating students so that they can be critical thinkers, or are we educating students so that they can be part of our economic development strategy for the community? And the answer obviously is both. So the linkages between the needs of the business community and what's coming out of our educational institutions needs to be more robust. It needs to be more give and take between these two sectors so that our students are learning skills in here that can give them the good jobs of tomorrow that will allow us to be competitive in the international workforce. So conversation between this vertical and this vertical is more robust than ever, as between this vertical, the K-12, and 55,000 degrees. And then naturally, you'd say, well, what feeds into K-12? And that's our early care and kindergarten readiness. If a child is not ready to learn by the time they go to kindergarten, their ability to catch up is severely endangered. And we know in our community and all around America that a lot of kids from our at-risk communities can show up at kindergarten at age 6, 3 years behind a kid that's had all the advantages. And the odds of that child being 3 years behind catching up are very, very slim. So this is a national crisis for us in terms of preparing our earliest citizens, these young kids, so that when they get into kindergarten, they know their numbers, they know their letters, they know their full name, they know the basics of how to operate and start learning. So what we know about a nourishing environment here in terms of the family and the community, preparing these children to be learners in K-12, we know more than ever before. So this is an integral part of this whole continuum, and one that takes a little more foresight and wisdom on citizens to invest in, because it may not be so apparent when we're out here where our challenges are, but in fact many of these challenges go back and start and have their roots in this area right here. So you'll be hearing more about us talking about more kids into pre-K, more awareness in the community about what makes healthy kids ready to learn once they enter kindergarten. So you'll be hearing a lot more about this continuum. The result of what comes out of here, obviously, is healthy and capable adults. What do healthy and capable adults do? More often than not, they help rear and produce healthy and capable kids. So this very much is a virtuous cycle, and it's a system that's all linked together that any thriving community will be very enthused about attacking. In the national conversations that I have with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I can tell you that we are kind of ahead of the curve in terms of attacking this as a system. So this is one of the big learnings and the big reflection points of this past year with the 55,000 degree board. Now what we do know is that the overall goal of any of these verticals is to make sure that children graduate or students graduate ready to contribute in a positive way to society. Good inputs in there, making progress. For instance, JCPS is making good progress. We've seen that over the last 4 years. We've gone from 31% of JCPS students being college and career ready to 61%. And we see that also with nice momentum behind it and great focus behind JCPS with the administration and the teachers and everyone involved. So that's something that we should really feel good about. Now, one of the challenges with achieving 55,000 degrees, as we look at the most recent data, is that not enough students are moving on to college and to get either a 2 or 4 year degree. And there are many reasons for this, and the panel discussion after Mary Gwen talks is going to be talking about some of the obstacles, some of the lack of support systems for some folks that are not in place that help people get their degree. But what we do know, and we're unapologetic about saying it now, is the lack of receiving some type of degree or some type of certificate after high school, oftentimes, vast majority of the time, results in a life of poor wages, inability to support a family, and certainly lost potential, not just for that student, but for society as a whole. And that's why it's a society problem. This is not just an individual issue. This is something when we look at the collective potential of our whole community, from north to south, from east to west. We are all interdependent in this. So the link between education and good jobs needs to be more clearly understood. And not just here in Louisville, but all throughout the country as well. We hear this emphasis, get a degree, get a degree, get a degree. Well, the question then is, what kind of degree? Am I going to have a job at the end of that degree? So understanding more how the world is moving in terms of workforce needs, and then what that path looks like through school is really important for us as a community to put the spotlight on that and make sure the linkages exist so that a student and their family can be making sound decisions on where to enter the system, how to get through the system, how to be involved with businesses throughout the system, then how to graduate and contribute to society. We know that a college graduate from a financial sense is going to be much better off than a non-high school graduate, making on average over $1 million or more throughout their life. And it's not all about money, but you need to have enough money to support yourself and your family, and then have a little time left over for yourself and for your community as well. So as a community, we will be communicating much more extensively on the skills required on the concentrated areas where we know that we have job openings. And we're significant, that we consistently have openings. For instance, technologist. Every company now is a technology company. There are needs all over the country for more technologists. We know that. That's going to be going on for at least the next decade. We need more and different types of training for technologists, and students need to understand their pathways in and out of that. Nursing is another big example. We're doing a pretty good job in the community in that area, but we can do more. And then just something as basic as sales openings. We know we always have 800 openings in the community on average for people to get into sales. What does that curriculum look like? What does that apprenticeship program look like so that students can enter ready and have on the way out a good job? So one way to explain this linkage is by highlighting job openings by industry cluster and then the associated education and compensation level, so that when a student is thinking about the future, and they've got to start thinking about the future when they're in high school, they can make these choices and understand how those choices then have direct accountability toward what their life is going to look like in the future. And the proof is in the numbers. We have 5 economic development clusters that we focus on in the city where we think we are either best in the world or can be best in the world. And one of those clusters is advanced manufacturing. So I want to use this as an example so that you can see how wage increases correlate with skill development in education. So one of the ways we use this information, I speak to 6 high schools every fall and spring about the students going on with their career. And what I want them to understand is the choices that they're going to make and how they're going to relate to their educational options and then their income options after this. So what you see on this this is the advanced manufacturing cluster in the various subsets within advanced manufacturing. And then if you are at a high school or GED level, what your options look like down here. So for instance, let's say on the bottom side, $12.41, up to the high side at $44.86 an hour with a 4-year degree. So what we're hoping to do with this, whether it's this cluster or the business services cluster or lifelong wellness and aging care, e-commerce, et cetera, someone would say, you know what, I really like working with my hands. And I can see that being an industrial maintenance technician in this associate degree area really has some interesting opportunities for me. So I'm going to learn more about that. And here's your pathway to go through that. So when we can link that kind of intentionality to an outcome and then hopefully an employer, the odds for a degree in a useful life go way up. So we're figuring out a lot more what I would call meat and potatoes, blocking and tackling kind of information here so that students and their families can make a better decision as it relates to getting a degree. Now you'll note that not all of these jobs require a 4-year degree. In fact, there are more openings right now in the country and in our city for STEM jobs from degrees at a 2-year junior and technical college than at a 4-year institution. So for some employers, skills and credentials from a 2-year degree are more important in terms of what their needs are than what might come from a 4-year degree, and compensation from that 2-year degree can be higher than a 4-year degree at the same time. So the important thing is that students know that, families know that when they make their decisions. We've also, over the last couple of years now, we're learning a lot in our high schools about linking high school curriculum with workforce needs. So I want to recognize probably the best work in our community in this area is the work going on between JCPS and Ford. We're pleased to be part of Ford's Next Generation Learning Curriculum, and that helps develop employable skills and industry credentials while the kids are in high school. And a group of us, I see several of us in the room here, we were at J-Town High School last month, right in the middle of their day, understanding better those linkages, and it's really been phenomenal to see the increase in interest in next generation learning. 2 years ago, I believe, was the first year. Number of students, I believe, was about 50. Now this year, the program is sold out, over 200 students in that are, you see kids that are passionate about a career path, whether it be industrial maintenance technician or whether it be going on to be an engineer, but they're studying something that they're interested in that is applied to a workforce application. So they're seeing some real relevance to what they're studying, which really then ties their persistence to achievement in a much more significant way. So it's programs like this that are going to tie us to better future results with our workforce and making sure that these linkages are well understood by our students. And the Ford program oftentimes then also leads to post-secondary credentialing or union apprenticeships for our students at the same time. Pathways to good jobs, middle-income jobs, high-income jobs at the same time. And so this is an area that as a community will be developing even more. I wanted to talk a little bit about apprenticeship programs. That's what some can view the next generation learning, one of the options in there. But in general, we need to increase the type and number of apprenticeship programs that we have in the community. Apprenticeship programs build skill both in the learning of specific job-related knowledge and then the application of those newly learned skills on the job. So oftentimes in the same week, 3 days in the classroom, 2 days on the job. Apprenticeships pay the student workers so they earn a degree while having a job and then graduate with no debt. Okay, and that is a significant barrier to more college achievement that Mary Gwen is going to talk more about here in a second. The 55K report shows that our colleges and universities are making a positive difference. More students are earning college degrees in a shorter period of time at our colleges and universities than ever before. So that's very good news as well. But the number of kids going to college is declining, as I mentioned earlier. And concern about cost and debt levels coming out is one of the main reasons we hear over and over again. That's why my previous comments on linking job openings with job skills, with credentialing, with compensation, and making that much clearer for our citizens so that they can be making good choices and then graduating with no to low debt or some certainty of getting a good job that will pay for any debt. So the 55K report highlights that we need to convince more working adults that it makes financial sense to return to college and complete the degree that they started 4 years ago in a field that will pay them adequately and reward them adequately to doing so. So being involved with education that links directly to workplace skills in a job also often results in increased persistence. And by that, I mean the student will stay with their education and complete their education because they understand the payback at the end of it. Business, our business community obviously plays a big role in this whole system. We need more improvement from we need more involvement from our businesses to define the skills that they need so that our colleges can rapidly respond with applicable courses. And one of the words I used in there was rapidly. Okay? Some people don't think colleges can respond rapidly. Okay? So we need that link between four-year colleges and universities two-year juniors in technical colleges to be robust enough, because the world's changing fast. That means business skill requirements are changing fast. That means we need to be educating and training our students in a more rapid response type of way. We fortunately have some great areas of success, both at the college and university level, responding in concert with our business needs in the community that we can point to. One is Bellarmine's data analytics course. Huge need for data analytics. We're in a world of open data. Bellarmine has responded beautifully in that area. The graduates coming out of that course are going to have good jobs throughout the country, throughout the world, probably in the $60,000 to $90,000 a year range as college graduates. U of L has developed an online organizational development program with a concentration in healthcare management in responding to our cluster of lifelong wellness and aging care and the needs of our local companies for students with more concentration in healthcare management. And then there's Kentucky FAME, and that's the Kentucky Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Internship Program. So focus on the manufacturing area, when you're going to be hearing more and more about FAME. So these are examples of what we need to do more of. We need tens and tens of these type of programs in our city. So the data shows us that we need more business leaders to help adult learners become college degree earners. And we need more companies to make that investment. That's what the Degrees at Work program is all about. It's part of 55K, is engaging the businesses so they know what their human resource needs are, how many folks have finished their degree, how many folks are partway through their degree that want to finish their degree, and then for that company to say, hey, we need these type of skills. Would you go and get a degree in those skills? We'll pay for that, and that will result in a better job for you. And then we need our education providers to be better integrated with our employers, so there's agreement on what needs to be taught to increase student readiness for the world of work. So we all know that creating a pool of highly skilled employees results in high-wage jobs that results in a lot of opportunity for our community. Now last, we hear a lot about we need more of a college-going culture. Some of what the data shows us is we got people going to college. We need to make sure we have equal emphasis on a college finishing culture at the same time. Or if you're one of the 100,000 adults in our community that have some college but haven't finished, we need you to help finish with your college finishing activity. So I think when students better see the pathway through higher education as a means to achieve a good job, and there's more businesses involved in the community that are helping with that, then our college-going culture will be taken care of. It's the system that's important here, and it's not any one individual component about this. So hopefully from these results you can see this is a community work. This is not the work just of 55,000 degrees or any one of our individual institutions. It will take the entire community getting behind 55K, even more, for us to achieve these kind of results. The bottom line why we do all this, obviously, is we want the potential of all of our citizens to thrive and to flourish in this community. And that's why I believe there's been so much support in Louisville behind 55K, and we should feel good about the results that we've had to date. But it's like one of these things that when we get into it further, it's like, man, there's a lot of work to do here. But what I've really seen that's been interesting is people have really dug into this, and they're interested in the whole system and the cycle, and somebody might really be focused on early care and pre-K readiness. Another person is really enthused about that linkage between the workforce. Another folks is really interested on socioeconomic differences and how we help students that are struggling the most. So everybody can jump in to this challenge and help in one way or another. So for all the great support here, I really appreciate the whole community stepping up into what I know will be even more work on this. So I wanted to focus and thank a few of our funders that are here today. 55K is a funded collective impact model. We wouldn't be making the progress without the good work of Mary Gwen Wheeler and her team at 55K. So our funders are from J.P. Morgan Chase, and we'll give them all a round of applause at the end. From J.P. Morgan Chase, Angela Klitsch. From the James Graham Brown Foundation, Tina Jo Walters. I believe Mason Rummel is here today as well. From the Community Foundation of Louisville, Susan Barry. From the CE&S Foundation, Tess McNair. Virginia Kelly Judd from the Humana Foundation. from the Gaines Foundation, Carl Thomas, and from Brown Foreman, Marty Tishner. So please join me in giving them all a well-deserved round of applause. An extended round of applause. Paul Costell from Chase, thank you as well, Paul. So in closing, let's take the next step. As I was talking, I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding in the room, so to me that means we're taking the next step together. We've made a lot of progress over these last 4 years to make our city smarter and stronger and more prepared for everybody. All of our citizens here, this is for everybody. But there's a lot of work to do, and I know we're up for the task, so I appreciate that future work. So now to take a closer look at the numbers, let me introduce a relentless, persistent, passionate champion for higher education attainment, and that's our Executive Director of 55,000 Degrees, Mary Gwen Wheeler.
Thank you. And Mayor, you've really covered the highlights, the very important things, and I'm just going to take a moment to dig into some of the data to make sure it's understood. We did something a little bit different this year in our report. Instead of focusing so much on a sort of visual, printed report, we've got one that's much more interactive online, so that the report you have in your hands, if you read that while you're online, there's lots of links that take you directly to our data dashboard, which is a very rich source of information, and you can compare schools and colleges and how we do against a variety of benchmarks. So, that's why we've got sort of copies here today, but the real thing is I just want to encourage you to go online. And Now Sourcing is the company that helped us do that, an infographic company, so we're feeling pretty pleased with that. I want to take just a moment to also recognize the team that made this possible. Dr. Lily Massa-McKinley, our Senior Project Manager, and Mike Kennedy, our Technology and Data Manager. Please stand. These two made this possible. Hours and hours of work, and also 55K team and AmeriCorps Vista, 55 Vista members, please raise your hand so everybody can acknowledge your help as well. Thank you. Okay, so try not to go too, I get a little data wonky, so apologize and just sort of wave your hand if you're like, too much. Okay. So when we launched 55,000 Degrees 4 years ago, we knew we had a very big challenge, but we also knew we had to take action, as the mayor said, this sort of collective action to put Louisville in a position to compete for those best jobs, best companies, and to improve our quality of life. So the goals we set were to be at 50% of our population with a college degree. That translated to 55,000 more degrees we needed to add to our population. As Mayor Fischer indicated, we've learned a lot over these past 4 years, and so we're armed with data that's going to really help us interpret how do we better reach our goal. So first, let's take a look at the overall standing. We're at 41.5%. That's basically level from last year, and that does keep us above the national average, but it means that we're not on track to reach our goal in 2020. In fact, it'll be 2030 if we keep this current rate of attainment. This is a historic high, but we've got to do more. Since we launched, our population, part of the deal here is that our population has been growing faster than predicted. So actually, we need to add an additional 59,000 degrees. And over the past 4 years, we've added 22,000. So we're more than a third of the way there, but with 6 years to go, we must move faster. At our current pace, as I said, it would be 2030 before we reach the 50%. So let's take a look first at the numbers. What's going right? What are the things? And as the mayor's already mentioned some of them. High school graduation rate is up 2.5%. 10% more of those high school grads from JCPS are college and career ready. Our archdiocese schools have college-going rates that have stayed consistently high at about 94%, and our college degree completions and graduation rates are up. Let's look a little more closely at the first one, college and career readiness. JCPS is making real strides here. 61% of the class of 2014 was considered to be college or career ready, and that's 30 points higher than in 2010. Encouragingly, all races and ethnicities have improved as well. Though I do want to point out there's still a 32-point gap between white and African American students in college and career readiness. Another area our higher ed institutions have been producing. We know more people are getting college degrees, and the number of undergraduate degrees annually has climbed to about 10,000 per year. So more people are earning bachelor degrees, which is the red bar, with a 13% increase over the 4 years, and more people have been earning associate degrees, the black bar, and that also has been increasing. It's been a nearly 26% increase over the past 4 years. We also know that yeah, actually, go back a bit, Mike. Yeah, so one thing I just wanted to point to, go back the other way. Oh, am I doing that? I'm doing that. Sorry, I was hitting the wrong thing. It's why I need a technology manager. Let's go all the way back to, no, that's too far back. All right. So just wanted to point out that 54% of all degrees awarded are going to adult students. So it really makes a difference that we are working with adults as well. So college graduation rates are also going up. This trend is a 7% increase over 5 years at the 4-year institutions and a 6% increase at 2-year institutions. But even with this upward trend, we again see challenges for the subgroups. Those who are under-resourced, the low-income students, those who are underrepresented, the minorities, and those who are not prepared academically have lower graduation rates. We are using National Student Clearinghouse data, though, to better understand what's actually happening. Those graduation rates were at the same institution. If we follow students who transfer, it's actually a little bit better picture. The numbers are higher with a 62% compared to 49% of our bachelor degrees. Students are obtaining bachelor degrees. And in associate degrees, 37% compared to 32% are actually finishing college at some institution and getting that all-important credential. So we do have more of a college finishing culture than our graduation rates indicate. And the good news is those are all going up. We still do, though, have work to do. Louisville is ranked 11th among our peer cities, this criteria that we're using to set our goal, and many of them are gaining at a faster pace. So it's important to look closely at the indicators that are moving in the wrong direction. And as the mayor said, among the most troubling of those are our declining enrollment rates. And, you know, we think that one of the major concerns about that is cost. The cost and the value of a college education may be causing more high school graduates and adults to to veer off that path toward college. And so we really need to make that actual cost of college degree, not the sticker price, clear that it's affordable, and to say that it's a smart investment in the future. But so let's look at some of the indicators that make us think that this is happening. First, while I said more JCPS high school graduates our high school students are graduating, 3,577 or 79% of the 9th graders in the class of 2013 graduated, but fewer of them are going on to college. So only 66% of our JCPS graduates are enrolling in college, and that's a 7-point decline over 6 years. As I mentioned before, we've had steady numbers of the Catholic students heading to college within a year of graduation at 94%. But both JCPS and Archdiocesan students have a problem known as summer melt. This is when graduates who are on track to college, in other words, they filled out an application, they got accepted by one or more colleges, and they applied for financial aid, but they did not enroll within 12 months of graduation. Melt at JCPS students has worsened steadily, with almost 20% of FAFSA filers, that's the financial aid form, not making it to college that following fall or spring. So during those crucial months of June, July, and August, something's happening. Too many lose their way and don't make it to campus, so a real area for intervention. And we also know more about who's likely to melt. As you can see, we've got, oops, sorry, I'm doing this again, hitting the wrong thing. We've got low income, 84%. This is sort of a profile of these intenders that don't attend. 84% are low income, 82% are not academically ready. They're under the ACT benchmark of 20. 57% are first-time college goers in their family, so they don't have that support or knowledge necessarily. They get intimidated pretty easily. 45% are African American and overrepresented population. So what's the other thing that this all adds up to? That and the economy have probably led to fewer people enrolling in college. Now, as we know, enrollment is a leading indicator of degree production 3 to 5 years down the road. So with these statistics, we know that we need to get more of those who actually do start to finish, or just to keep our level production of degrees level, we won't make it with these enrollment numbers down. Since 2010, enrollment has actually been dropping at Louisville area colleges with a decline of more than 7,400 students. And some of the most notable drops include adult learners with a 15% decline since 2011 and African American students with a 16% drop since 2010. Another indicator of concern is post-secondary retention, the number of first-time, full-time students who return the following fall. And while the 4-year rates are flat, we've seen a 5% decline in the 2-year students since 2008. So we also, though, have better data from the National Student Clearinghouse that can follow persistence at any institution. And what we see there is that the most concern is adult student persistence is really falling fast it's dropped 13 points over the past 4 years to 42%, and that's a big divide between those traditional students who tend to persist at a higher rate of 70%. So one of the things here might be happening is that traditional students, if they're not happy in the institution they are, they transfer at a much higher rate. Adult students are going to stay in the city or where they're working probably, so it's really important that we help them at the institution where they start. A final statistic underscores the challenges, and this is Mike, between the two of us we're going to get this, is that of JCPS high school graduates who do go on to college, not enough are finishing. JCPS high school graduates underperform the national completion rates by about 20 points. Only 40% of college-going JCPS seniors finish an associate's or bachelor's degree within 6 years. This was the class of 2007. And that compared to closer to a 60% rate of a similar cohort of nationally students who started under age 20, students who started in 2007. And you can see that these numbers, we still got some enrolled, so those numbers may come up, but that's something we've got to pay attention to. So what's stopping people from going to college and completing degrees? Well, for sure, cost is one of the key barriers to going. And in Louisville, as nationally, cost has been going up. But the price is not always what you think. Sticker price did go up 16%, and net price even faster at 18%. But that is the difference. Sticker price is the difference between the tuition and fees that all get added in, and then what students actually pay, which is reduced by grants and scholarship, and we think of that as the discount. So the discount is in the red here, and for private, not-for-profit 4-year institutions, that's almost a 50% discount. So it's really important to look at the sticker price, to get on those net price calculators that every college has to have on to do that. But it is, cost is going up. Student loan debt, I just want to mention, is in your report too. It's not, I don't have a slide on it, but it gets a lot of attention, and indeed debt hasn't nationally reached new levels of, new heights. But it's lower than most states in Kentucky. Kentucky ranks 9th lowest on student loan debt upon graduation. And federal student loans, everyone with them, everyone can afford to go to community college. but default rates are highest among students who attend two-year public institutions. But another fact to make that even fuller picture is that these students often have less than $5,000 in debt and stop before finishing their degrees. So one of the clear ways to get a return on investment for your education is to actually finish the degree. So it's not just the challenge of getting the money and support necessary to go to college. We really, really have to address the value judgment. The notion that the costs are higher than the return. You know, I recently read a story by Nicole Smith, who's at the Georgetown University Center for Education and Workforce, which has provided us and many other people really good information on the labor market and how education relates to that. She said there's always these barista stories, you know, the college graduate who is working in something not in their field and making much less than they are. But those are anecdotes, and almost always the people eventually settle into jobs at their level. And we know that today's good paying jobs require more education, and we need to make sure that parents and students understand that post-secondary education is the gateway to the middle class. So how do we clearly demonstrate the value of a college degree? There's a lot of statistics in your report. I've just got a few here. One is that the Federal Reserve Bank just recently did a study that compares cost to value. It was a 15% return on investment. That's an annual return on investment, much better than many stock market portfolios have. This also in Louisville is a difference between a bachelor's degree and a high school diploma is a 70% differential. That adds up to $1 million over a lifetime. We also know that those with higher education work more. They're finding jobs. Unemployment rates for people in Louisville with a bachelor's degree or higher fell to below 2%. But the unemployment rate for high school graduates in Jefferson County is nearly 11%. So the bottom line then is connection to jobs, as the mayor said. We must stop the leaks in our pipeline, but another piece of the puzzle is how to retain and attract more educated people. And high-skill, high-wage jobs are critical to that puzzle. Information from the Kentucky Center for Education and Workforce Statistics tells us that we're doing a better job of producing graduates, but we're not keeping them in Louisville. Only about 1/3 of our college graduates were working here 5 years later, according to one study. And so if those current trends continue, just think about that, only 1 in 3 of our college graduates here. So how do we reach our goal? Well, this is an area where businesses can play a very vital part of the solution. We need to improve that communication and connection between employers and education so that those career pathways are very clear, that there are internships and work experience opportunities so that students can gain valuable experience, and also that they make those connections with employers, aligning programs of study with those high-demand career pathways. So where are we after 4 years? We've made some strides. More people in Louisville have degrees than ever before, but we have to move faster, accelerate, as the mayor said. We're on track to reach our 50% goal, but not till the year 2020. The conundrum is to figure out how does a city become a net winner in that in-migration, out-migration? How do we retain graduates and attract more educated people? And matching post-secondary credentials with that high-wage, in-demand jobs plays that critical role for us to achieve our aspirations. So with 4 years of data under our belt, some recommendations are apparent. It's just an imperative that we continue to address the critical leaks, because it not only will improve college going rates, persistence, college finishing, it's also going to make a difference to those underrepresented, those that have been historically left out, to get them across the finish line. So we've got to close those gaps, and we must continue also to reach out to those adult learners with some college and no degree, and help them with the tools they need to earn their degrees. And we need the help of employers and the business community, not only to reach those employees who are working for them, but also to build stronger connections with the education community. So we've got a lot more information. I really do encourage you to look at the data dashboard on our website and play around with the numbers and make your own conclusions. But as you dive into them, it'll be clear to you that we have lots of work to do to produce more degrees and to help more people get across the finish line. And it will be very clear that that's simply only one part of the puzzle, that we have got to do a variety of other things as well, which means we need more partners. We need the community at large. Improving the education system is the imperative, and we also have to be able to attract and retain our graduates. So next year, as we head into our halfway point, we're really renewing our efforts, intensifying our focus, and we're going to be reaching out to new partners to help us in our journey to a stronger and smarter Louisville. Thank you. So thank you for bearing with me on the slide deck there, and I'd love to, Mayor, if you wanted to come up, if there were any question and answers right now, just in the data that we have, and then we'll move to a panel here in a few minutes. Any questions? Any thoughts? Oh, come on. This is an educated room. Any surprises? What we do have the statistics of, the good news is that's a 16, I think, or 17-point increase over the last, few years. So it is going up. Dewey Hensley is going to be, he's the Chief Academic Officer of JCPS. He's going to be on the panel here, and that will be certainly something that Dewey might be able to shed some light on. If you go to the data dashboard, we do have by school, college and career readiness broken out by race, I think, right? Yep. So that can also give you a sense of where the students are. Other questions?
So I think it might be useful to tell people a little bit about how they can drill down into the underlying data that supports this report, because it is hugely interactive, and for a room full of people with this level of interest, someone may want to.
Yeah. So on our data dashboard, we have first of all, we have all the sources for this data, so you can go actually to the direct source itself. But then we also have, what's unique about the data that we're pulling is that all of these are publicly available sources. So you could go to JCPS, or you could go to the IPEDS, which is the the national higher ed database, and pull all these. You can go to state places. But what we've done is pull them together and then aggregated them so you can look at it as a community. So how is Louisville doing? And so you have that, but then it does break down into every college and university's statistics roll up into that aggregate. There are about 22 of those institutions that we follow in the Louisville area, and then we have JCPS and archdiocesan schools as well at the K-12 level. And you can, it's this Tableau format that's really fun. You can actually go on and pick the school you want to compare to another school, or pick a national or a state benchmark and compare how we're doing to that as well. So I do encourage you to go to our data dashboard. Carolyn. So remember that declining enrollment means not only those first-time students, but students who are persisting. So, part of it is a first-time enrollment problem, and part of it is people not coming back. So we have to address both aspects of that, the college finishing piece as well as the enrollment. In the, first-time enrollment, certainly the economy, you'll see that the greatest declines are in the two-year community colleges, and typically that's when the economy goes bad, people go back to get retrained, figure out another pathway, and so when the economy gets better, they're going back to work. So that is where we've seen the greatest declines, and that is a national trend. I think Dr. Newberry or Laura Smith from JCTC is going to talk about how they've actually been able to change those enrollment numbers this year. It's not in our data yet, but because of the persistence, helping people come back. Right. So the state has had a, has agreed on what the benchmarks are that students must achieve to be college ready. It doesn't guarantee you admissions. Actually, some colleges have higher benchmarks, but that composite 20 is the readiness. And so what we're reporting is the percent of students who meet that benchmark. And the percent is going up, and going up pretty dramatically, but there's still, and particularly in those underrepresented groups, much lower rates. I see our friend from CPE here, and the Council on Post-Secondary Ed also has all of these and actually tracks, college readiness as a predictor of being able to finish, and that's the thing that is most impactful is whether a student is ready.
Talk about the net attraction of people with degrees. You said 2 out of 3 leave the city. Do you have a sense of how that is trending? Well, we're so much cooler than we used to be.
Right. I mean, this is one of the things about data,
Ben, is that, we're dealing with older data. In order to be able to track what happened 6 years after or 5 years after, this was a while ago. So, those people were getting degrees, what was 5 years ago? So 5 and 6 years ago. That might have been right at the time when our economy was, at our worst, and so, they're going somewhere. So, but some of that is, those are graduate degrees, and, we typically retain a very small number of graduate degrees. That's a real opportunity to integrate more of those graduate students into our community, help them find, jobs here. So, those numbers were pretty consistent over the 2 years that we have the data that were graduates. Mike, do you remember, is it, I think, 2006 and 2007 graduates, or 2005, 2006 graduates?
Follow up on your comment about the gap for the African American community, and your comment about so the African American community can respond. I think my question is, if we all don't respond to that, we'll never reach the 55,000 degrees mark. Is that true?
absolutely. There is
A group of African American leaders that have created 15K Degrees initiative, and they're calling attention within the African American community, but it requires all of us to, look at all the students who are not meeting the benchmarks now and figuring out how to support them. And part of what our partners have done is actually broken out their goals for whatever it is, graduation, persistence, college career readiness. They've broken them out by demographically as well, so we know whether we're hitting those dramatic increases as well. I'm going to take one more question, then I think I'd like to move to the panel. Dr. Crawford.
So I'm really pleased you said
That, Dr. Crawford, absolutely part of this puzzle is stronger attraction. And I think what the good news is that we're showing we're producing more people with degrees. So I think that is something that we can tell the rest of the world and business. The economic development community is stepping up. I think, we've got an exciting new leader in Kent Euler at the Chamber, and together with Mayor and his Civic Innovation Group, are really working on it. Kentuckiana Works has these charts now, really tracking the data of what kinds of jobs are open. So I think we have a lot more information to be able to do that economic development and attraction work. So now we have to get it done. That's the challenge. So thank you all for coming. I want to give you just about a 2-minute break while we pull up our panelists, so you can grab some water or something. But let me just introduce real quickly why we've asked these panelists to come. As I said, maybe I'll start down at the end with Dewey Hensley with Jefferson County Public Schools. How do we have more students prepared and create that college-going mentality? Laura Smith from Jefferson Technical Community College has been working on Achieve the Dream, which is really, how do we improve the student success rates at community colleges? Kevin Cosby, the president and CEO, chancellor, and whatever of Simmons College, our first historically black college and university, being re-energized here, and what that can mean for the minority community. And then Shirley Willingans, the provost at U of L, where there's a lot of exciting things going on. They've dramatically increased their graduation rates from 30 to 33% to well over 50% now. So what's going on there, and how can we make that trajectory move forward? So that's what we're about to hear. Take about 2 minutes, and David Jones Jr. will be our moderator.
This has been a Metro TV production, a public service of Louisville Metro government.